this episode of In the House, we take a detailed look into sheetrock with Junior Coronado of GCTEX Drywall. We dive into the history of sheetrock, where it comes from, what new products are on the market, who makes it, why gypsum, and how did it become the standard substrate for wall finishes. Junior walks us through each level of drywall finish, and we discuss best practices for achieving a level 5 finish and beyond. I hope you like this episode. Thanks for listening. Upgrade your construction layouts with Trademarks. These heavy-duty vinyl markers are designed to withstand harsh job site conditions. They're durable, waterproof, and perfect for marking locations for electrical, plumbing, HVAC, and more. Available in trade-specific colors, Trademarks make communication with your team simple, professional, and reliable. Whether you're recording benchmarks, elevations, or center lines, Trademarks ensure your layouts stay intact, even under heavy traffic. New customers enjoy 15% off at checkout. Visit trademarklayout.com to get yours today. Let's see. Yeah, what do you got over there? What are you hiding?
Some beer.
Some beer?
Yeah.
Are you going to share? Or you mean a little...
dude, you can have some beer.
Okay. What's that one there that you got?
Are we on?
Orange?
Are we rolling right now?
Yeah, we're rolling.
A little Jones soda.
Jones orange cream?
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm not a fan of orange cream. Appreciate you supplying the beer, though.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome of you. Native Texan. I like that. I haven't had them in a while. Oh, man. Okay, so you do a lot of drywall work here in Austin, GCTEX Drywall. I wanted to start off, I wanted to get sort of your history. How did you get into the drywall business?
Man, so funny story. My dad he's been a painter his whole life. And I probably did the opposite thing of what he wanted me to do. You know, like he put me through university, put me through school and all that stuff. And I just became a trade.
What did he want you to do?
Probably get an office job or something.
Oh, really?
And graduated, came to work for him for a year or two. And he does kind of lots of production, track home style painting, you know, so it's just high volume, go. Yeah. And I wasn't having the most fun with it. You know, it's not very creative. It's just kind of transactional. Did
you do that as a kid? Did you help him
paint?
Yeah.
Yeah. So growing up, you know, like I would, during the summers or off school breaks and stuff, you end up on scaffolds, on ladders, you know, kind of doing whatever.
Yeah.
And then through high school, kind of did deliveries for him during the summertime. If we weren't traveling or doing baseball or something, would end up going to help some of the crews, you know.
Right.
And then, went to university, came back, did a few internships with like an oil and gas company, software company. And I don't know, office life just wasn't for me, you know. And he said, come home, work for me for a little while, figure out what you want to do.
Yeah.
And worked for him for about 2 years. So we were butting heads quite a bit, you know, good father-son relationship, but probably not meant to work together, you know.
I got you.
So drywall is right before paint.
Sure.
And that's kind of how I ended up on that, you know. He had some guys that were drywall guys. I kind of inherited them, I guess you could say,
right.
You know, and then kind of wanted to do the more custom architectural work, the stuff we're doing now.
What did you study?
Communication and business.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I don't like office jobs.
It
was boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
up my alley.
A cog in a wheel, and you kind of don't get anything done. And
just sitting at a desk all day,
working
typing
for the
away
man.
at the computer.
Yeah,
working for the man.
Working for the man.
Well, yeah. Well, you are the man, so there you go. Yeah. Now you're the man.
Yeah.
So I mean, okay. So drywall was kind of an easy transition for you, yeah, because you said, I mean, you're painting, which I mean, you're applying a finish to a drywall surface. So I mean, that seems like a pretty easy jump there. But what about it though that just drew you right in? Did you see a need? Like, was there something lacking in the...
Yeah, you know, in that production world, it was like they were always waiting on patch guys or repairs or moving parts, you know, and it was just kind of like, well, we can figure that out, you know, and just kind of naturally progressed to get bigger and more complicated, and then started taking on harder work. And now here we are 10 years later, hopefully doing some of the harder work in town, you know. We kind of look for the more challenging projects, architectural projects.
Yeah.
tight tolerances, reglets, and whatnot.
What would you consider a challenging drywall project? Is that going to be more of your modern house that's like zero trim, or something with a lot of arches and details like that, or what do you think?
I think the modern houses are pretty hard, right?
Really?
Because it's kind of managing client expectation, architect expectation, and also a budget, right? There's still lots of those zero trims, architectural trims. You want them to line up and be on the same plane with trim, light fixtures, and some things that are really hard to achieve. And because there's a cost, and there's a cost driver to them, some of the arches and some of the other stuff's a little bit more forgiving because you can feather it in a little bit more. There's more forgiving areas than a drywall wall and the base being on the same plane in some of the modern houses.
Yeah. Okay. I gotcha. What do you think your first big break was?
Man,
like where do you think you actually wow, this is our first big project that we got? And
man, probably 8 years ago, we did this house over off of Far West. That was like a 28,000 square foot house.
Wow, that's a big boy.
And it was before people were doing level 5 everywhere, and it was all kind of a hand trowel texture. But that was like my first big gig that I was like, okay, I can hang this on the wall and go shop it around to other guys and say, hey, we could provide on this big house. Let's, a little bit of drive, a little bit of hustle, and it just kind of carries on from there.
Yeah. Do you, are you familiar with the history of drywall, like how it actually came about?
Yeah, I mean, somewhat. Like, we currently buy all of our stuff through a local vendor here in town that sells USG. Yeah. USG, United States Gypsum. It's 120 years old. They're kind of a subsidiary of theirs, invented drywall in early 1900s. And it was around for a long time before, but the traditional method to do stuff was lath.
Yeah. Wood lath. Yeah. And like a 3-step plaster.
Correct. Like a 3-coat plaster.
A scratch, brown, and finish coat. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With old lath, and then World War II happened, there's housing a shortage boom, of labor, housing boom, and gypsum kind of just naturally progressed because it was easier to do, less labor intensive than having to do the 3-coat over the lath.
Because I wonder, it's like, who thought, why gypsum? I mean, it's a mineral, and it's, I think, relatively easy to find. I mean, easy to mine, but it's a mineral, but it's like, who thought of taking gypsum and sandwiching it between 2 pieces of paper and then using that as a board to apply to your wall. And I thought that was really interesting. And I was doing a little Googling before this. I wanted to read it. It was, so like you said, the drywall is recognized to be invented by USG, or US Gypsum Company. But there was a product that was actually patented in, I think, 1894, 1895. Sackett.
Yeah.
Augustine Sackett. Did you read that?
Yeah, that was the subsidiary of USG.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it was called Sackett board, and it was plaster based, sandwiched between 2 pieces of paper rather than gypsum. Mm-hmm. So I guess USG basically took that patent, and then instead of having a plaster base, they started using gypsum. Now, why gypsum? I don't know. I still haven't really come to that answer. I did read. Let's see. Let me scroll up. And I don't know if you knew this, but gypsum, I think it's widely used because of its fire resistance. Because it's a crystal structure, but it actually contains some amount of water, and so as it's heated, it'll release that water, and it gives it kind of a fire resistant property. Mm-hmm. So, and then plus the ease of installation of gypsum over the 3-step plaster, and the lath, like you alluded to, there's sound insulation qualities to it, which it seems like a 3-step plaster would have more sound qualities because, I mean, it's a heavier material. I mean, seems like that would stop sound better. But
yeah, I think sound, you want levels of separation, maybe it all being one piece, lets it transport through a little bit easier.
Probably. And then, and then it really just, like you said, I think with the housing boom after World War II, just the cost of installation was, driven way down by using that type of product.
Production is much faster. Right. Even today, there's some houses that still want to do 3-coat and it elongates the process by a month or two, instead of just putting gypsum up.
Yeah.
And one thing to your point about gypsum being a mineral and being mined, our vendors here take a lot of pride in that. Sweetwater, Texas, just a few hours away, is probably one of the biggest gypsum mines.
Really?
That USG uses.
That's great.
Yeah. And they've invented some products there, like the glass mat Securock. They invented that product there, so
oh, cool.
It's something that local vendors here take pride in.
Have you seen a lot of development, like when it comes to gypsum based products? Like how has it improved over the years? I mean, I think the paper facing, paper faced gypsum is still probably the widest used product, but have you seen anything else come on the market that you think is a big game changer?
I mean, there's some really interesting stuff. We have a project right now where noise and fire with some of these natural disasters going on right now, the client's pretty concerned about them.
Sure. And
there's an interesting product. Commercial people use it right now. It's a Structocrete, but it's an inch and a quarter, like gypsum-based material. And it is structural. So a lot of commercial guys use it as floor decking right now so that you don't have to do a pan deck. You just kind of frame the walls up, lay the sheet down, and it's structural. And we're looking at a project where we might put that on the walls, which
interesting.
Yeah, is kind of a gnarly idea, but
sure.
if it protects someone's biggest investment from a natural disaster,
right.
it ultimately would be worth it.
That's wild. 1.1 thick.
Yeah.
Gypsum.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Sounds extremely heavy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's 5 pounds per foot, so yeah.
4x8?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
That's cool. I've heard of Structocrete, but yeah, I didn't know it was that thick. I didn't know it was that dimension.
They do, through studying up on it the last few weeks, there's a 3/4 inch one that may be more feasible for us to put on a wall.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Instead of the 1.25 inches.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's cool. Yeah, I'm interested to see how that develops because I've only recently heard about that. So, but
yeah, a lot of back to your question, the moisture resistant stuff is super interesting, because it's still gypsum based and the paper's a little bit more resistant to water, mold.
Because the paper is really where you can get into a lot of trouble if it gets wet. It's not the gypsum.
Yeah.
The gypsum does just fine. It's the facing. So, I mean, it totally makes sense to just take off the paper facing and put a fiberglass facing. I mean, and it seems like it gives you some more strength too.
Yeah.
So
lots of the new quiet rocks that are rolling out are super impressive, as far as noise control and some of those areas are concerned.
Yeah.
Lots of, I don't know.
Quiet rock's great.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to go into sort of the best means and methods of achieving a level 5 finish. But I wanted to get from you, what are the different levels? I think let's start there and sort of define some terms so people know what we're talking about. I think the drywall levels, right, 1 through 5. So maybe can you walk us through, what's a level 1 versus a level 5?
Yeah, level 0 is just drywall fastened to the wall.
Okay,
no
so
mud
it
on
starts at 0.
Yeah, it starts at 0.
That's just hanging the sheetrock.
That's just hanging the sheetrock.
Okay.
And then level 1, all you're doing is putting compound over the butt joints and the bevel joints and taping it, wiping that tape, and that's it. That's a level 1.
Right.
Level 2, you put a second coat on your beveled edges and your butt joints, putting one coat over the fasteners.
Okay.
Level 3, you're putting a third coat over the butt joints, widening them, feathering them, putting the second coat over the fasteners. And there, I mean, you can achieve like a knockdown texture, a thicker texture, something that's a little bit more forgiving.
Right.
And then level 4, again, you're putting four over the butt joints, 4 coats over the butt joints, the bevels, widening those joints with your 12-inch blade, sanding it all, and you can, in some areas, I mean, you can paint them depending on how forgiving the light is. If you have a window that goes east to west and it casts a bunch of light in, you probably don't want to leave it that way. But ceilings, lids, closet walls, you could probably leave it at level 4. And if you go to a lighter texture like an orange peel or something like that, a level 4 is perfect for that. And then a level 5 is you're skim coating the complete wall with joint compound, lightweight compound, whatever, and then sanding it and priming it.
Right.
that doesn't mean it's straight, right? You know, it's just it's smooth,
right? It's yeah, I guess that's true. You have to be careful because it might be flat, I guess, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's plumb.
That's correct.
or to your point, it might not be straight.
Which is always funny, right? You
right.
know, like people think level 5 means a perfect wall, and it's like, no, you know, we're just building up the mud.
Yeah.
And the existing framing, whatever may be there, we're just following that, you know?
Exactly. Okay, so in my mind, a level 5, I guess it would really be like level 10 if we're really if you want like perfectly plumb, perfectly straight, flat, smooth wall. And that's like level 10. Yeah. So to get there, I think is way more involved than people think. And that really starts further back. That starts at your framing.
Yeah.
So making sure if that's really what you want to achieve, you need the right team in place. You need to make sure you have some skilled carpenters, skilled framers that can install your framing members, but also make sure you're using the right framing material. You can't just go to Home Depot and buy some, 2x6s off the shelf and think that's going to work. I think the best way to achieve that is either light gauge steel framing or the like the LSL engineered type lumber, which stays laser straight. Which I've discovered recently, even the engineered lumber, as straight as it is, it's still made of wood. It's still going to move. I mean, every material does. There's really no way around that. Y'all do light gauge, don't you?
Yeah. So T-grid, light gauge framing, we'll do quite a bit of that. So
if you're doing the light gauge and you are, you're controlling the finishing process from start to finish, what does your process look like? If walk me through, start to finish from installing the studs to, finishing the sheetrock, making sure that it's, we're achieving level 10 here. So.
Yeah. So, we'll put an emphasis on layout if we are in full control of everything, laying everything out on the floor, understanding what our finish dimensions are from frame to drywall to architectural trims, whether it's a corner bead, whether it's a reglet, whether there's some other accessory that gets mudded in, a speaker, whatnot. And then we will set our corner beads shimmed out to an eighth or whatnot and make sure from end to end of that wall, those are on the same plane.
Right.
Whether it's a string line, laser, any of those items, and then just infill the middle area to get it all on the same plane, and then get a 10 foot, 12 foot, however big the wall is, screed, and just ensure that that's a straight wall.
Right.
Yeah. Which always doesn't happen, like that. Those are kind of unique projects.
Yeah.
That all adds up quite a bit. I think it's
true. Yeah. That's definitely, if money's not an issue and there's a client who's willing to foot that bill and they say, I don't care what it costs, I just want the most perfect wall you can give me, then that seems like that's the way to go.
Yeah. And it would happen on main features of the house, right? A fireplace or
maybe not in the bedroom.
Yeah, not in the bedroom, closet or anything like that. Somewhere where at least here in town, there's not full light gauge houses,
There's a few.
There's a few, but they're outliers.
That's true.
They're outliers.
Yeah, they are. Okay, so all right, let's say somebody, they want a level 5 and it's a remodel, and they have a budget. What are some good ways to achieve that level 5 that's, going to work within their budget? Because we've done some jobs where, you're taking existing framing that's pretty bad, pretty gnarly stuff. And it's like they want level 5, which of course to us that's like a level 10.
Yeah.
We always got to take it beyond, but that requires a lot of time and effort to shim all the framing, or even scab on a new piece of framing. But you have to have a really patient, really skilled carpenter to get in there, with lasers or string lines or both, and flatten that wall. Because, you go in there and just you throw sheetrock on that wall. You might be adding ½ inch of mud on it just to get it flat, So in your experience, what are some good ways if you're doing a remodel and maybe money's tight. Mm-hmm. How do you really achieve the best level 5 finish?
Just managing expectation with the client, right? Say, hey, this is out of plumb, this is out of plumb.
What do you
We're
want
going to make it look smooth.
Sure.
Do you want it smooth or do you want it straight? You
Right.
know, and just kind of manage their expectations. If there's some areas where it's really important that wall's straight, you probably recommend, hey, let's pull that drywall off, let's shim those walls.
Yeah.
And put our 5/8 drywall up to where we know that wall's going to be straight.
Yeah.
But in a perfect world, I don't know. It's just expectation, right? Like in my house, there's some walls that are probably 1/4 inch out of plumb, you know.
And you mean both.
Yeah. You know, it's just today. Yeah, I think there's a lot of stress and pressure on alignments and level 5 and making things perfect when, I don't know, houses are made out of wood and it's a living species. It's going to shrink. It's going to expand.
Oh, dude, it moves so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're going through that right now. It's, I mean, a project that we're wrapping up, and it's like, you know, it is a remodel, but you know, we have a lot of plastered finishes, and you know, you start to see cracks, and the owner's like, well, you know, this is brand new, and there's cracks. It's like, well, okay, every house is going to move. Like, it shrinks and expands, and you know, we just went through a cold period, and now it's warm again. Like, your house is growing and shrinking and moving, and it's like, that's just a maintenance item.
Yeah.
You know, even if it wasn't a plaster finish, if it was painted, I mean, it's still going to happen.
Yeah.
There's just no way around. It doesn't matter how much you spend. There's just no way around it.
No, yeah. I mean,
every house.
Managing that with the client, right?
Yes.
The houses are living, breathing. Humidity this week in Austin went up to 60%. Last week it was at 30%.
Yep.
Things are going to move.
Absolutely.
You know, and if you can not dumb things down for them, you know, but understand how hard things are.
Yeah.
And how difficult it is for things not to crack, for things not to move.
Yeah.
And a climate like this is challenging, right? Mm-hmm. Because, I don't know, for a client, it's emotional more than the transaction, right? It's the most money they'll ever spend on something, and it's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, that's true. It is a big investment. Do you see less issues with like a light gauge framing than you do with wood as far as movement, and it can be the same?
Yeah, it varies, right? I mean,
yeah, just depends.
Yeah, depends which way the house is oriented. You know, there's all those factors.
Yeah.
But I mean, it certainly does shrink less or move less than a typical lumber. Mm. LSLs are a little bit better than your typical lumber.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's just
yeah
depends what the vapor barrier is on the outside. You know, so on.
That's true. There's a lot of factors.
Yeah, lots of variables to all of them.
Yeah. Have you seen those the stretch ceilings?
Yeah.
You do those?
No, but I've been asked maybe 10 times, you know, like, hey, could you figure this out? It's like,
I'm still unsure about that. That seems kind of strange. Like, what is it, vinyl?
Yeah,
it's almost like a vinyl wrap on your ceiling.
Yeah. I mean, it looks impressive, and the videos you see on the internet, you're like, why isn't that everywhere? But I don't know. Who knows what it's made out of, you know, like.
Yeah.
Because that's important to us, going back to the gypsum, right? I mean,
yeah.
Most gypsum you buy is made in America. You know, the face is assembled. Everything's assembled in America. You know, like there's some other gypsums that you can probably get more affordably if it is a budget job that are made in other countries and whatnot. But you can't guarantee how the fire rating or the moisture resistance. You know, so
right. What's the most challenging part of drywall, do you think?
Man, just the muscle, you know, like hanging the drywall. I mean, those guys, Victor, Beto, my guys that do that stuff day to day, you know, like, I mean, it's so demanding, and they're able to do it with a smile on their face every single day. The mud guys, that's a little easier, you know. They're not picking up 75-pound sheets every day, you know, over and over and over again. So I would say the hanging, you know, if there's a 30-foot ceiling and you're on 4 sets of scaffold and you got to pick up a 4x12 sheet of drywall, you know, a 5/8 over and over and over again, that it's just a demanding job.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's difficult. Yeah. Dude. And then to that, you know, then there's Jorge and some of these other guys that are architectural trim installers, right? And
Yeah. Oh, I love Jorge. Man.
Yeah, it just depends.
When he comes, it's like, I know it's going to get done right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
he's good.
He'll ask you what the tolerance is and then say, okay, cool. And then
zero. It's a zero tolerance. Every time he asks me that, it's a zero tolerance.
It's different ways. But yeah, the hangers, yeah, those guys.
That's the most grueling part.
Yeah.
Those sheets are, especially with the new ones that you were saying.
Yeah. The Structocrete. Yeah. That.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. A normal sheet of drywall is about 2.2 pounds for a 5/8 sheet, and that Structocrete is 5 pounds a foot. So,
yeah. That's wild, man.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I want to take a moment to tell you about our sponsor, U.S. Lumber Brokers, right here in Austin, Texas. One thing we talk about a lot on this podcast is excellence. And U.S. Lumber Brokers is just that. From their knowledgeable sales team to their quality products and delivery, these guys have you covered. From siding to soffit to decking and timber, even windows and doors, U.S. Lumber Brokers has what you need. Give them a call today at 512-927-1111 or visit their website to get started. Outside of work, what do you like to do?
Man, I have 2 kids, third on the way in April. So
no kidding.
Yeah.
Really?
That's one of the things where I'm fortunate enough to be my own boss, so get to make time for them wherever I'm able. And
that's great, man.
Yeah. I'm on an adult baseball team, that I'm fortunate enough to be a part of. There's a lot of trades that are involved in the team, whether they're home builders, carpenters, welders, mechanics, just a bunch of great guys, that care about being around a good community and hanging out and talking about how bad their day was or, how bad their boss was to them or whatnot. We could talk about anything,
Right.
Yeah, it'd be a great podcast episode.
Oh, I'm sure it would. That would be awesome. It's just, the vibe always changes when there's a microphone in the room.
Yeah.
It's hard to relax and just like be yourself and kind of vent some of those frustrations when it's being recorded.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that would be great. You travel a lot, right?
Yeah. Australia. We went to Australia in November.
Wow, dude.
Europe.
How was that?
It was great. Yeah, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law live in Sydney, Australia.
Oh, cool.
For 3 years, so we went to give them a visit, and it was awesome. One thing that is very different from America to Australia is trade appreciation.
Really?
Yeah, like tradies in Australia, they're not like here. If you're an 18-year-old and you say you're going to go to trade school or something, someone thinks something's wrong with you, right? And in Australia, they have trade programs to where you graduate from high school, you go to a trade program, you're an apprentice, and you can make a pretty good living, make a career out of being a trade.
Yeah. Interesting.
Which I think is very different than America, right? Especially Texas.
Really? Mm-hmm. Is that your experience? Like, whenever you decided to go into a trade, like, did you get some negative feedback or reaction?
Not negative feedback, but it's definitely kind of against the grain, right? From going to a university to then ending up being a contractor, right?
Yeah.
It's just a little bit different.
Yeah, but man, you're your own boss, though.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
That's not like, why would anybody frown upon that?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't trade it for the world. But I think, like some of my guys' kids, at least, it's like they think that they, instead of being a trade, need to go work at a technology company or on computers or something,
Yeah.
And we've been super fortunate to where we have 3 guys that their fathers work for me, and now they're out of high school and they're working for me, and they can see that they can make a pretty good living and not go into any debt and be 20 years old, kind of a year or two ahead of some of their friends.
Yeah. What, how old are your kids?
Luna is 6, Cruz is 3.
Oh, okay. It's about like mine. I think I got 6 and 4. What are your thoughts, for your kids? I mean, if they wanted to follow in your footsteps, I mean, that seems like a dream come true, right? Like,
yeah, I think I would be more
be an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah, since before we had kids, chatting with my wife, Mackenzie, it's like the kids don't need to go to college, as long as they find something that they enjoy and they're good at. and they care and they're able to hopefully make a living doing it.
Right.
That's all that you can wish for your kid, right? It's kind of what I'm doing,
Yeah.
Like you're just a big kid making mistakes daily and figuring it out, and really showing a lot of grace, right? With clients, with home builders, with architects, that's one thing I think Austin, where we are, is very great at. It's kind of an entrepreneurial city,
for sure.
From me being 24, 25, trying to figure some of these things out without ever really doing some of the things I'm asking guys to do and being more of an operator, right? I think it was kind of the perfect tsunami of trust, hustle, kind of having a good time, to where clients, builders, general contractors kind of appreciate you caring, showing up, whatnot,
Yeah. That's cool. And that's, and if I can say, I mean, that's something that I've always admired about you, is that, I mean, we seem like we're sort of the same age, but, there's just something about entrepreneurs that, like, I'm really drawn to, because it's a brave thing to do, and it can be scary.
Yeah.
I mean, you're venturing out on your own, and you're putting a lot of time and effort into something, and a lot of your own money to, and you hope it works out.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Like it's been working out, but in 5 years it may not work out.
Right.
And you just got to kind of figure out how to.
It's a giant risk. Yeah. And it's just like, I love this idea of just diving into something, even if you don't quite know how it's going to work out, or maybe you don't have any experience in it, and just making it happen and making it work. Yeah. And I just think that that's really cool. Is there any pressure for your kids to go to college? I mean, what's y'all's plans?
I've never had any pressure or say they have to go to college. Sure. They have to do this. They don't have to do any, I hope that we're able to raise kids, and by the time they're 18, they're adults and can make some decisions on their own. Right. And I don't know.
Yeah, man, I kind of feel the same way. I think I've said it before, but I feel like we kind of have this backwards, where it's like we're pushing too many kids to like go into college immediately after high school, and it's like, man, I feel like that's the time to like go and really figure out what you want to do. It's like, if my kids want to go to college, I think that's great. I mean, I went to college, but it's like, how cool would it be? Like, we've saved up this money. Go start a business. Like, what are you interested in? Yeah. Right? Go start a business. Go do that. We'll help you, and eventually, if you want to go to college and get a higher education in whatever it is that you're interested in, well, now you have some real world experience, right? And now you can go educate yourself and get some more knowledge that will help you in a real world application. So it's odd that like we seem like we're pushing high school students into college, and they don't really quite have it all figured out yet. Yeah.
And that's what I was saying, but going back to Australia, right? Where it's like they have a buffer there where they can try to be a different trade or go to university or figure something out, because I think there's been a little bit more of a push in the last few years as far as trade schools and kids not going into debt or going into college or anything like that than when maybe you and I were in high school, right? Where it was like, you have to go to college, or you're going to not have enough in your retirement account or whatever,
Sure.
Like
it just seemed like that was the natural progression. Yeah. Like everybody was just, and in my town, it's like everybody went to A&M, and I just, that's where I ended up going, or where I ended up getting my degree. But
man, you followed everyone.
I know. And that's, at the time I was like, the last place I want to go is A&M. And, and I ended up I went to, I was in Missouri for a while, and then I went to the Air Force Academy, and then I came back home, and I was like, all right, I'll give A&M a shot. But I eventually wound up there, and it's a good school. I didn't drink the Kool-Aid though, so I'm not a huge Aggie fan, unfortunately. But yeah, it was just like, why do we have to go off and try to figure out what we want to do? And, really we have no idea. Yeah. Let's maybe go work a job or try to start a business and get some experience. But
yeah, I mean, even now, Who knows if I have any idea?
Nobody has any idea.
No one has any idea.
That's what I've learned is like nobody really knows anything about anything.
No.
I mean, we have a lot of guesses. We have a lot of theories, like how the world works, or how does gravity work? Like nobody really knows.
No.
We have a lot of guesses. We can study it.
Assumptions.
We have a lot of we can take measurements and study things, but it's like nobody really knows. We're just guessing.
Yeah.
We're just that's just I don't know. That's just what I've observed. Like,
right.
The weather. Like nobody knows what it's gonna do. The climate. I mean, everybody's talking about climate change. Nobody really knows what it's going to do.
Right? Yeah, man. All I care about is how it affects drywall.
That's right. Right. Oh, dude. Well, man, I appreciate you coming on. I think this has definitely been, very educational. Hopefully somebody can listen to this and know, like, okay, these are the steps that I need to take, if I want to achieve a higher finish, a higher level. And these are the things that I need to do to ensure that. So, I appreciate your expertise and your knowledge in the subject, and it's always a pleasure to work with you. And I appreciate your time coming on. So. Oh no, yeah. I mean, it's messy. It's gross. It is messy. Can we do something about that? That's probably the most frustrating part about drywall. Is like it's just a freaking disaster. Yeah. Can we fix that? Man, I mean. Festival vacuums, you can do a lot. Let's get some HEPA vacs in there. All right. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, awesome. I appreciate your time. No, thank you, Lonnie. Thanks, Junior.